Well, welcome everyone. It's wonderful to see you and welcome to this webinar. My name is Deniz Ünsal. I'm a associate professor at Royal Roads University and partner in this initiative with Professor Taiwo Afolabi from Center for Socially Engaged Theater at the University of Regina. I'd like to acknowledge that today I'm logging in from the ancestral lands of the Lekwungen speaking people, Songhees and Esquimalt nations. I have been an immigrant and a visitor on these lands since 2015. I come from Turkey. That's where I used to live and teach. And now I am living, learning, and doing all these wonderful things with colleagues, collaborations on these lands. So I'd like to welcome you. I'll give a little bit of background about the global cities and socially engaged arts and why this webinar is happening here. Taiwo and I, we have been collaborating on different projects for some time now, and we wanted to start this community of practice to build a network and knowledge and archive on artists, researchers, arts managers who are engaged in socially engaged arts, who are using the arts to address social issues, who are using arts as a methodology, as an expression, as a community engagement tool to address urban issues or social issues that are very much in our lives. And we wanted to do this in global cities, in cities of non-Western countries or in diasporic contexts to learn from non-Western scholars and researchers and knowledge and epistemologies. And so this is the fourth webinar. We started doing them in the last spring, and our website has recordings of those webinars. And in one of these initiatives, we met Culturans from Mexico City, and that opened up all kinds of interesting discussions and access to different, knowledge, and finally also to people. So thank you, Culturans, Fran and Maho, for allowing us to learn from your knowledge and network. And today's actually webinar is in collaboration with Culturans. And we are very excited to have with us people, researchers and artists who are working on exciting projects, the Good Enough Transformation Project. And we will hear about this project and artists who are involved in this project, what they're doing, what their mission is, and what they're trying to change with their art. So I'd like to start by introducing Jennie Suddick. Jennie is an arts leader, researcher, and practitioner whose work bridges education, cultural strategy, and international collaboration. She currently serves as Director of International Programs and Collaboration at OCAD University. So Jennie, congratulations first, and then please, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. For those of you who don't understand why we're laughing, my title just changed today. So very excited to be joining you in my new capacity. That's very much the same as my old capacity. And as you heard there, I wear many hats, but today I'm joining you. I was the primary desk researcher doing the preliminary groundwork and literature review with our amazing research assistant, Sarah McClure, who helped us put together some of the groundwork and the lens of which we are understanding and thinking about the international impact of the work of the other two of four of our test beds, which you'll hear from today. So I'll introduce a little bit of what that means and about some of the ways that we can think about how the practices that will be shared today are both universal, but also very specific, and how we can learn from what is transferable as well as what is not transferable, and how it can help us see our own communities and how we may create social change through arts engagement in different ways for ourselves. So, as Denise mentioned, the Good Enough Transformation, or you'll hear us call it GET, is a global community of practice. So, it's nice, two communities of practice coming together here today, and research collective, connecting 9 cities across 4 continents, brought together under the NGO Trans Europe Halls. Our work begins together, bringing together artists, designers, cultural practitioners, community leaders, and researchers who are all exploring the shared question: how can creative, grounded, and community driven practices spark meaningful impact? At the core of GET is a simple but powerful belief: transformation doesn't require perfection, it requires motion. Across our partner cities, we see small scale, experimental, and collaborative creative actions generating real social change. These are kinds of practices that often go unnoticed by traditional systems, but they are deeply effective at building agency, connection, and resilience within communities. What makes GET distinctive is that it doesn't apply external models or impose predetermined frameworks. Instead, it builds knowledge within communities by treating creativity, culture, and lived experience as legitimate forms of expertise. We bring research, artistic practice, and on the ground experimentation together in ways most initiatives keep siloed. Today, we will share insights from our projects that use arts-based methods, cultural knowledge, and everyday creativity to address social challenges in practical and community-rooted ways. These projects show how local groups are using creative tools such as storytelling, making, mapping, performance, design, to shift narratives, strengthen relationships, and open new possibilities for collective action. Through what we hear from our 2 participants, we'll also highlight the distinct role that arts can play in this work. Socially engaged arts have had the capacity to surface underrepresented voices historically, build belonging, and create spaces where people can imagine and prototype different futures and feel it or see it and bring it to life. Whether through participatory workshops, public art interventions, or community-led contributions, these practices allow communities to articulate the issues that matter to them and build responses that are culturally grounded and locally owned. So our aim as a consortium, and coming to you in this session, is to show you that meaningful impact emerges not only from large-scale institutional initiatives, but from the quote-unquote good enough practices: creative, relational, iterative, and rooted in lived experience. These approaches are often adaptable across contexts, from global cities to small neighborhood networks, and they model pathways for ethical, reciprocal, and community-led transformation. So we hope that you'll also agree that this is where the GET approach is especially impactful, by valuing modest, flexible, and culturally rooted actions, which you'll see through the projects demonstrated that we'll share today. So you'll hear us use the term test bed. So a GET test bed is a real-world laboratory where communities experiment with creative and culturally grounded approaches to transformation. So my 2 co-presenters, Aguibou and Wendy, were 2 leaders of test beds in their communities in Malaysia and Burkina Faso, and they will share that work with you, and then also how that has already, in the short few months since the test beds happened, created new ripple effects within their community. And so where they actually are seeing the effects of the social impact. So test beds, unlike many international initiatives that import solutions or emphasize technical expertise, are led by the people who live the issues every day. And they include bringing in Indigenous and local knowledge holders, artists, designers, youth, elders, farmers, and cultural organizations. So we believe that this is one of the most unique aspects of GET. It trusts community knowledge as the innovation engine. They prototype what we call the good enough solutions: low cost, adaptive, and iterative actions that evolve and as they need to shift. They produce knowledge through doing, not just planning. And across this consortium, the test beds have included community farming practices, such as Culturans in Mexico and another one of our partners in Cyprus, as well as creative reuse and circular design, which we'll hear from Wendy in Malaysia, as well as agricultural, artistic land practices, as Aguibou will share in Burkina Faso. And many of these also make use of indigenous mapping and storytelling, community food gardens, and urban spaces, traditional techniques, and other forms of making. So the impact lies in how these spaces become cross-cultural learning environments. Test beds don't create easy-to-use templates. They create transferable ways to start thinking of how we respect cultural specificity. And that's what positions Get's work as both globally connected and deeply rooted in place. So, as the lead researcher for our foundational analysis, I'd like to highlight a few key insights from our work here that can help you guide as you listen to Wendy and Aguibou's test bed stories. First, community-led action consistently had deep and lasting impact. Grassroots initiatives can be found to be trusted, agile, and more durable than top-down interventions. Second, arts and culture mobilizes people differently than data or technical messaging. It can really connect and mean something to people. Creative practices generate emotional connection, what research refers to as affective knowledge. And this is often what truly shifts behaviors and builds collective energy and motivation. Third, local and traditional knowledge are not secondary. They are strategic foundations for resilient solutions. Pay attention to how each of these test beds draws on ancestral knowledges, land practices, or cultural identity. Fourth, transformation within Get is built on low-cost, iterative practice. Notice where things were tried, adjusted, improvised, and evolved. Fifth, partnership and power dynamics are central to how the work unfolds. Who holds the influence, how relationships are built, and how cultural, governmental, and community actors interact. And finally, impact shows up both in measurable outcomes and in relational change. Things like strengthened identity, social cohesion, and belonging. So we're looking at multiple ways to measure success. So keeping these insights in mind will help you hear not just what each test bed did and what they continue to do, but why it matters in a wider social impact context. We want to ground us in the fact that these ideas truly come alive through practice and, excitingly, through creative practice. Each test bed in the Get network shows what happens when creativity, cultural knowledge, and community leadership shape transformation on the ground. So with that, it is my pleasure to pass things over to Wendy from Borneo Laboratory, who will share the first test bed. Wendy's work in Malaysia is a powerful example of how locally rooted creative practice can open entirely new pathways for social and ecological change. And I must say, I was very lucky to participate in her test bed and to get to know her community. And so I want to take the opportunity to once again thank her for that. Wendy, over to you.
Thank you, Jenny. It's also like we are very happy to have you over as well. So perhaps like before I go through about the test bed, I can also explain a little bit of like what we have been doing in Borneo. So maybe the next page, yeah. So what we have been interested in, I think as a collective, like together with the Get partners, we have been interested in practice as a state of being, like, you know, on over our research and developments. And then with our direct community, which Jenny got to witness last time as well, there is a lot of like conversation, a lot of challenges over the loss of tradition and the belief system, especially since the colonial times. And for our regional community, we also want to put more focus on the challenges of like over lack of imagination over the non-extractive model, because you see our world is evolving into like has been evolving into like, you know, massification, concentration, metropolitans, standardization. All these doesn't really driving people away from their hometown, and also looking away from their ancestral wisdom and rooted practices. So what it does to the regional community is also bring people away from the tradition they used to spend a lot of time with. And when it comes to our planet Earth community, we also find that there's a lack of multi-species world narrative. So Jenny would find that like over our test bed, there is a lot more focus towards like gathering of the human and non-human community. How do we imagining? How do we set ourselves as the medium? How do we understand like what can be what can be the multi-species world narrative? And then in the long run, we do hope that we can be serving ourselves as a serving towards the community beyond time. So this is how we perceive as regenerative models of practices. So next page. So Borneo Lab is a multidisciplinary lab. So what we meant by that is actually we find that most of the issue that we have been dealing with on the ground in the regional community or our direct community, they tend to be interdisciplinary. They tend to be like requiring a lot of skill beyond one single fixated professional angle. So our theme for the past 2 years has been the conference of all being, because we started to realize a lot of our problem, they are not intellectual problem, they are spiritual issue. So how can we deal with it? How can we bring people together? And how can we also bring non-human together to be able to understand and imagine? So I think imagination is also how we set up like the narrative of the workshop as well. Next page. So for Borneo Lab is launched in 2018. So we are quite young as a group. And then we started with placemaking and the creative practices. But over time, there is more and more requests on like how can we share the knowledge. So we started workshop, and we have residency. And to share our knowledge, we also have channel into the publication, exhibition, podcasts, or research. So we have been also working with different schools. One of the the one that like we've been working with is GSA, Glasgow School of Arts. So we've been working with GSA Innovation School for the past 7 years. Next page. So apart from that, like we have been also participating or involving or leading like some of the placemaking initiative in different area around Malaysia or Southeast Asia, and then curatorial practices as well. Next page. So, and we find that throughout our journey, documentation is especially important, because with what we found out from the traditional knowledge, ancestral wisdom, there's so much of the challenges of this area. It has to do with the lack of documentation due to the oral tradition. So for the oral tradition, like people tend to believe more on the verbal passing down their knowledge rather than like writing that down or drawing them down. So this is what we find that is very challenging. Like if we want to find or if we want to retrieve some of the information, so we find that it's important for us to develop the skill or the mechanism to do the knowledge documentation. So, and because of that, we also realize that like is when you publish a book, it's important to get more people to participate in the in knowing the process. So that's why some of our earliest book actually funded through crowdfunding. And for us, crowdsourcing and crowdfunding, not simply to get the funding, but also to get more people to be part of the initiative. So and because of these crowd sourcing project, we also ended up like having some partners, like-minded partners who willing to support alongside the initiative. So recently we also published our 8th book, which is like Jennie also part of it. So I still need to find a way to send to Jennie. Next page. So we, apart from the local practices, we also find that important to participate in the global consortium, because most of the local issue we are dealing with nowadays, we find that they are actually global issue. So with all this global issue, it's need global wisdom and crowd wisdom. So how could we put things into test? How can we like borrow some of the wisdom from other areas? So I think it's important for us to have different platform that we want to whenever we want to tap into, we can. So that's why we have like GET, and Serumpun is actually a cross-country initiative as well. And on reciprocity, when Jennie was here, we expanded this consortium into the testbed, into a platform participated by more than 14 countries. So how can we have different voices? How can we enable different practitioner, change maker, or community workers from 14 countries together and to work on like different outcome together. So what I meant is actually seminars, exhibition, and even publication production, which we recently released our climate glossary. So next page. So I was requested to share some of the regenerative practices that we have done previously. So I thought one of the project that we did that stood out to me, like during the reflection, was plating the wow. So plating the wow was actually a food initiative which Jennie, during the on reciprocity, you get to be part of as well. So that was already the 4th edition, and then for the past edition, it's actually started with those kind of like public sentiments that thinking our Bornean food is actually lowly food. They are not really worth paying a lot of money. They are not really worth like paying a lot of attention to. So there was the time that like people would prefer the food from the France, from Europe, from Britain, because our region was ruled by the White Raja for more than 120 years. So there is a lot of like public perception things that there are certain things are better than the local food. So we find that like when we want to look into the local cuisine and local ingredient again, our challenge is not necessarily getting the ingredient or finding the chef, but to change the perception. So plating the wow was those kind of project that we want to twist the public perception. And the challenge during the time was also not simply logistical challenges, but also to get the knowledge and to find the wisdom holders over some of our Bornean local cuisine. So for the first edition, we set ourselves a challenge that we will enable 120 places, and then with the money that we got from selling the ticket, we will investigate and also place an activism, food activism project, because as you can see, how food can be very political. So during the time, we decided to look into, you see, Borneo is probably one of the most like biodiversified region in the world. So with 20% of the biodiversity coverage of the world, and how could our food not be nutritious? How could our food not be interesting? So that's how we set out our challenge for, and look into the not simply the food itself, but also the ingredient, the nutrient value. So and then the like. And it faces a lot of like criticism, challenges during the time, but then once we done the event, we did the event, there was also a lot of like comments and reflection over the actual event itself, because we weren't doing it just as a food event. We were doing it as a activism exhibition. And then during the event, there's no single things is a standard, because we want to, it's like a reminiscent to how the hunter gatherer gather their food, and then how could we, how does it look like when we eat in the forest, And also there is a lot of like reflection over how did we change our perception towards food just because of the media, just because of the politics and the education. So, and then in 2 years after this, we also realized that like over the 2 years, there were more and more food outlets started to change their ingredient or focus into Bornean food. And now the top 3 Michelin restaurant in Malaysia, they've been using Bornean ingredient. So we also started to see more and more awareness towards the Bornean ingredient. And in 2021, our city was listed by UNESCO as the city of gastronomy. But we also find that the work doesn't end there, because there's a lot more we need to look into in terms of the land-based wisdom, and also how could food be just, and also how could the biodiversity be further investigated. So these are some of the mission that like we have been and also the challenge we set out for ourselves. Next page. So the other project I want to share is craftivism series, one of our craftivism series. Why do we call it craftivism? Because activism through craft. We call this project Serumpun. It's actually started from our investigation with bamboo, and just by like, if you have you I don't know how many of you read the book by Alfred Russel Wallace, the Malay Archipelago. So in Malay Archipelago, in the first chapter, it's actually spoke about like how vividly like people have been using bamboo for the utensil, for the instrument, for the infrastructure around East Borneo, which is like, you know, the Kalimantan, which is this region where we are. But the problem is when 2018, when I moved back to Borneo, there's nowhere to see. Bamboo was nowhere to see. So a lot of people already changed the bamboo material to concrete, because concrete is perceived as like you can build to last longer, and you should build with like more permanent material rather than like something so temporary. So with that project, like we decided to look into bamboo ecosystem, working with like 5 community to remember some of the skill. So 6 months of the project, actually 3 months we're spending time to talk and spend time with the village, and to you know, like the task becoming like trying to remember and asking a lot of questions, and to understand what was forgotten, what was lost. And through that, we also learn about the lunar cycle, the river tide, and how does the environment has to do with like single material, like how it can be harvested, how it can be treated, and how it can be used. So it was through fragments of like memories from different individual. We piece a pavilion, and then furthermore, that project also impacted the local community to aware that how easily the skill, the tradition can be forgotten or even to be erased through political intervention or social intervention, or perhaps like industrial intervention. So these are the things that like we found, we further investigate in our project with GSA, which is which is also Pan Borneo as well. So in this project, we work with 12 community, more than 200 craftsmen. So this time round, our coverage not simply towards bamboo, but also towards rattan, musical instrument, beads making, jalai beads, songket, and rattan weaving. So there were different types of like craft that we were looking at, and also different geographical environments that enable those crafts, and which also link to the ancestral wisdom and rooted practices of different individuals or organizational craftsmen. So with all these craftsmen, like all the time we have been talking about how could we defend our ancestral wisdom and rooted practice through craft making. Next page. So this is how we work with 12 different like craft organization or individual during the project. Next page. And we call this project Serumpun, and it is a word in Malay called means a bundle of grass sharing the same roots, and it's also demonstrate the shared aspiration to connect. We as an island has been divided into 4 regions, 3 countries, and then because of that, there is a lot of knowledge was also separated due to the national boundary. So we find that boundary is also very contested. So during our exhibition in Borneo Culture Museum, so we were quite fortunate because we were actually like one of the first external exhibition in Borneo Culture Museum, which is the second largest in Southeast Asia. And then during the time, it was also featured by different news media of the region as well. Next page. So we also look at like how the indigenous relation, the craft, the vernacular material and cultural asset in Borneo, was shown in the region and also throughout our process. So there is a lot of academic output from this project and also the practical like outcome as well. Next page. So this project was lasted for more than 3 years. Even now, like I can still see the influence was lingering. So the project was also exhibited in Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia. So the one in Indonesia, in Jakarta. So if you know of the relationship, Jakarta is the current capital city, but they are going to move their capital city to Borneo. And so Borneo for them at the moment, most of the people, is also the land that like most of the people unfamiliar with. So when we were having the conversation in Jakarta, we can see there's a lot of interest from the Javanese towards Borneo. Next page. So the way we look at like how we set up the exhibition was like we use because of the budget we use a paper of 10 meter by 10 meter and then slice the paper open, so treating the paper metaphorically as a landscape, so to slice like simply and then to deform the paper, and then in the middle of it like we have the lighting in between. Next page. Next page. So people can walk around the paper and then to view different content and different narrative, like the inside and outside, downward or upward. So it's kind of set using the paper as a landscape to set different narrative, different languages, different identity, and the sense of boundary. Next page. So a lot of our project actually carry the global intention to be together. And so with our Big Trip project, it's also a project that we've woven 15 community around the world to look into ancestral wisdom and rooted practice. It started during the pandemic. So all we can do was just listening to the story. So that's what we did. We were listening to different story and recording them, sound recording them, and edited them into podcasts. Next page. And those actually stem from like the intention to look into the ecosystem, as I mentioned about during the bamboo project. We also found out that like there is also a lot of missing narrative that we were hesitating whether to share it publicly. Like for example, lunar cycle. Will people think that it's a superstition? Will people think that like this is not scientific enough? But then we realized that actually lunar cycle, how it's linked to the fiber, how it's linked to how the farmers and the harvester, they harvest during the certain time, they identify certain natural rhythm, seasonal rhythm. There was a scientific reason. Like for example, during certain lunar cycle, certain specific time during the lunar cycle, you actually get more glucose within the fiber. So if you cut the bamboo, like during that particular time, you get more sugar. It's get more sugary. And then so it will get the preference from the pests. So that's why you wouldn't get get it lasted for a longer time. And then these are also the things that we found out. There is a lot of things is already in the ancestral wisdom, but we just need to be patient and finding more link and also understanding why there was certain belief system was set up. Okay, next page. So in Tree Draw of Rice Wine, which is also the product of Big Trip Project, there was a lot of investigation towards the idea of navigation, stick sign, dreams, medicinal knowledge, and also how do we pass down knowledge. Like for example, building houses together. There is a lot of different form of togetherness in the book, because we were trying to look into from different community, how do people bring in different sense of different form of togetherness to cultivate the sense of belonging. Next page. And so we were grateful because of one of our initiative last year, Line Project, which in Malay context, in the Bahasa Malay context, our language context, it actually means the others. So the project of the others, we released 3 books, and then it was widely supported throughout 16 outlets around Malaysia. So they placed the book in front of their window as a form of support as well during the time. So not simply Serumpun, but also Big Trip, the Tree Draw of Rice Wine as well. Next page. So next, I want to finally focus on our test bed on reciprocity. For on reciprocity, we have been getting people not simply from the our GET consortium itself, but we want to expand this conversation to the practitioner in the around the island in the Pacific Ocean and also the Southeast Asia region. Next page. I think it's a video over here. Yeah.
Reciprocity is a lived practice. We once understood the importance of giving back every time we took. We honored the land with the wisdom passed down from our ancestors. But over time, forgetting these practices has led to challenges, first emerging locally, then spreading globally. Eventually, we realized that local issues are in fact global issues. To address these global challenges, we need to cultivate global practices to rebuild trust, foster healing, and embrace reciprocity. Only then can we enable systemic change through a collective shift in mindset. We must recognize that the past, present, and future of our material world are interconnected, inseparable from one another. So can the collective wisdom of art practices inspire this shift in thinking? This coming February, we will find out. Through a gathering of minds and voices, we aim to uncover narratives of reciprocity from diverse regions, exploring its many dimensions and possibilities.
So that was how we started our the intention we set for on reciprocity, which we gather around 20 participants and 25 participants, and then eventually with the publication it's like 30 participating authors. Next page. And then it's also a so actually with the on reciprocity, there's a lot of satellite project and research that associate to it. One of them is human nature, how we were looking at ethical engagement. How could we engage like creative practitioner or practitioner like cultural practitioner to involve them in the landscape, and then how could they form the ethical process. So there was also the time that I was looking at how the human practice informed by the nature and human from the cultural side, for the ritual and custom interacting with the cultural narrative, and how could that interrelated like relationship will play a part in the system. So this is also something that like we recently will release soon to the public, actually via like British Council, because it's actually a research commissioned by British Council. So next page. So with on reciprocity, like for the fairy cave, so in the like we were looking at like the ancestral wisdom of the area to set out the tone for the first few days, and then like with the co-creation session, we were also looking at like how we can enable a collective like wisdom sharing session from different region, especially on the notion of reciprocity, how they play in different forms in different region. So plating the wow again was reenact during the process, and Kampong Peros, like one of our longest like collaborating partners, after the project they were also listed as UNESCO geopark, not necessarily because of us, because of course it's because of like the series of things that they have been doing. So this is also something that like we have been quite happy about lately. And Jennie was also helped to reenact the ritual of bookmaking as well during the process. So we all had a great time. Next page. So this is actually one of the picture, like when we were having the plating the wild dinner in over the rooftop, started from the rooftop and then coming down. Next page. So together with on reciprocity, apart from the 5 days workshop, we also have is resulted into a series of like seminars. Initially, we intended to have like just 6, but then it's ended up to be more than 8 because everyone like proposed. So remember on the 3rd days, and like we were saying to all of you in the on reciprocity, we have intention, but now we have no plan. But we know we have a target. So how could things play out? It's actually up to you. So there was also the time that like we did quite a lot of preparation and facilitation beforehand in order to enable this transformative and flexible allowing any changes that can happen in the process. Next page. Yeah, so this is the look of like our final exhibition, the Union of Propagation, from contributed by everyone. Next page. So this is actually the idea of our book, like how the why is look like basket, because it's like how all the rattan woven together, becoming one basket. And for your information, basket is also the first weapon in the indigenous knowledge, being considered as the first weapon. Next page. So this is when we were talking and sharing ideas about the book and working together during the residency time. Next page. I think it's final. Next page. Some of the look of the book. Yeah, next page. Yeah, we can go towards the end. Yeah. So our favorite quotes goes like this. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So we have been grateful for all the recurring partners, like that have been supporting and also have been working together alongside us. So this is my sharing for today.
Thank you. I may do a little bit of intro, Aguibou, on you, and then please, of course, introduce yourself. So Aguibou Bougobali Sanou is a multidisciplinary artist, dancer, choreographer, musician, and storyteller from Burkina Faso, a Fulbright scholar, an assistant professor of dance and performance studies at Grinnell College in Iowa. He merges African tradition with contemporary innovation, founder of the Tamadia Dance Company, the In Out Dance and World Arts Festival, and Arts Green Culture Factory. He explores the intersection of art, ecology, and community. Welcome, Aguibou.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, Jennie make me already smiling. So, well, thank you. It's a really a great honor for me to be here, to have this space to share my passion and our passion. So I will start by saying that this space where tradition and community meet in order to bring some positive social change as art residency model in Burkina Faso. The space was dreamed, thought, and planned really to be a venue where local and international researcher can meet and share together. So we can go to the next page, please. Yeah, for me, every single project is like a next step for another a previous one. So I say that all my projects are like a piece of fabric that we will bring together to make a beautiful cloth that can cover our I'll say our body to make it easier. So I started with Tamadia Dance Company in Burkina Faso, founded in 2005. I was like questioning myself about two things. The first thing question it was that was like a kind of like I asked myself, what is success? What does it mean to be successful? And I tried to find my own definition. I said, for me, success is to serve more than to be served. And one of the sentence also question from my dear mom. I love talking about this lady every time. She's my everything. Everybody. So Wata Damile, my mom keep asking us as our children. She said, "How do you want to be remembered?" So I'm still thinking about that. I do not have any clear response yet, but definitely I think that I want to be remembered as somebody who try to move our society positively. So when I start like dancing and have opportunity to receive knowledges from different artists, choreographer, different searcher from different country around the globe, I came back home. Oh, why I'm listening to myself. I came back home and I said, why? Well, what if I decided with my community to create a structure that can also be a place of collective thinking and collective problem solving. So that was the beginning of like Tamadia as an entity where dancers come together to think together and create together in order to, and I love saying to cook together our art in order to serve, the meal, artistic meal on the table of the international table. And then I keep like touring, receiving again. And in 2013, I said, well, I travel, I meet beautiful people with beautiful idea. So, and I saw in my place, my city, the second largest city of Burkina Faso, it was supposed to be the economic capital of the country, but at the end, it became a kind of place where they think that youth are lazy and they only drink tea and smoke and keep being lazy and don't want to work. So I said to myself, how do I bring an idea with this youth to collectively think and see how we can move forward and to find solution? I don't know if we find it. So I create the youth gathering. The country, my city is known by tea, that's French, blah, 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 by tea making. So I said, we can use the tea as, an alibi to meet and talk about gender issue, to talk about job market, to talk about gender violence and sexual violence and things like this and drug and so Granger was created in 2013. Then the next year I said, well, it seems like I didn't do enough. I need something else. What is the next? 2014, I said, I'm going to create an international dance festival that can, invite professional artists in Burkina Faso in order to create a bridge between Burkinabe artists and the international artists and they will collectively, spread seeds that will grow in the future. So In and Out Dance was created in that idea, and then it suddenly became famous, bringing around 80,000 people operating in 5 cities at the same time. And it was like annual, strongly supported by the U.S. State of Department State financially, as well as some local, community. So from In and Out, we used to bring, performances in prison, on the streets, in the hospital, in military camp, and where we bring performances where I call space are not designed to welcome, quote unquote performances. So one day when we perform in the prison, I received a letter from a prisoner asking me to integrate my dance company. So I say, well, I asked about what this guy did to be in prison and when it will be released, when it will be free. So they let me know sadly that he wants to go out. So, and I was thinking, I said, well, if these guys cannot go out, I can think about to go in and meet him there and create. So that was the beginning of the dance project for incarcerated people. Then I create and I designed this project, this curriculum in the central prison of Bobo Dioulasso, my second city. And then I remember that was like 2016. And I was so passionate. I said, well, if I do this project in order to use dance as a tool to bring those people and create a space of reintegration in the society, if they don't have job, what will happen? They will go back to their routine, and sadly, they will go back again to the jail. So I was thinking about a farm. How can we create our own job market? That was 2020. And that was the beginning of Art Green Culture Factory. And it was during COVID too. As an artist and someone who used to tour a lot, COVID came, bam, everything stopped. I also realized how vulnerable we are as artists. So I said, well, let's create something that can feed us. And then from there, we will do what we want to do. We will keep doing our passion. As my mom say, if you are, passionate of your work, you are not working. You are enjoying life. So let's go to the next page, please. Yeah. So this is, I would say, Art Green Culture Factory. The test bed of our beautiful GET project. And I want to really acknowledge that the space between 2020 and when we start GET, the farm burned entirely at least 3 times. Everything was like in ash, and I keep like starting over. So the last phoenixing, I will use this word, like phoenix, the bird that rebirth from. I would say the last phoenixing was with Get project, and I want to say also that Get was the only project that allowed me to receive some funding to do something. Otherwise, every single thing I cite I was like using my money to do it, because I believe that what we were doing could bring even a little positive change to in our community. And so uh, 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 Get the art green culture factory was like definitely embedded to what it's like. In French we say la suite logique. It's like the logical follow next step to what I've been doing. So it's a space where people come together to think about our future, to think about the green energy, to think about it's not only for dance, it's for like every community. In the picture, you can see me with local wisdom practitioner. I love the word where Wendy said crowd wisdom practice. So this space is a place also where ancestral spiritual practitioner people get collectively to think, to share. How do we also storage? How do we collect our ancestral knowledges? I would like to say that in December 15, maybe 1,000 of ancestral shaman will be in this space to spend 48 hours together collectively thinking about the connection between ancestral spirituality and our nowadays. We can I will before we go to the next slide, I would like just to cite one of the famous sentences that our former president Thomas Sankara used to say. He said, "Produce what we consume and consume what we produce." So that is also one of the philosophy. So the idea was like, as an artist, how do we do agriculture, and then this agriculture and all the things we are going to produce will help us to sustain our research as artists, and also to support and sustain our community activities. Next slide, please. So thinking about sustainability, since the GET project testbed happened, I was like thinking and say, how I will be able to keep like financing this, since I definitely know that I'm the only pocket that's financing the thing after the grant I received from GET. So I said, well, maybe I need to think about another possibilities. So officially, since a few weeks ago, Art Green Culture Factory became Aguibou Bougobali Sanou, which is going to be a really enterprise. So I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and definitely ask things on like doing business in order to sustain what we love to sustain, what we love to support what we love to support. So Kodonso is in Bambara Dioula language, most spoken language in West Africa in terms of countries, and it means a temple of knowledge. So I want this place to be the place where art, ecology, and ancestral wisdom bloom in harmony to inspire the future. Next slide, please. Yeah, so that was like during our test bed. We received Amin. I love calling him my younger brother. very intelligent young man, architect from Morocco and living in between Morocco and France. So during the test bed was like four hosts and four guests. I call it like this. And then I was the host of my beautiful guest, Abin, to come and think about collectively the design. How can we use local material to and inspired by how our ancestors used to build and build something that will last long and eco-friendly. So we produce more than 6,000 bricks using the soil we have in our place and start building using traditional technique to build. So this with this brick in winter, the house will be like automatically warm by itself, and in summer it will be cool inside without using any heat or any AC. So, and the total superficie of the land is almost 9 acres. So, mixing art, ecology, and agriculture. And we have a space where we have the temple of ancestral knowledges and research. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is me trying to show how famous I'm kidding. You know, as the project was like merging from the ground. I was so proud of what we do, what we are doing. So I keep like taking every single day picture to see where we are. So this is the evolution. We can go to the next slide, please. Yeah. So as I was saying before, the place is Get was like mostly based on the architecture place spot. Let me say that. But in the place in general, almost nine acres. We divided in several, space where we have animal and agriculture, where we have ecological architecture, and where we have art and ancestral knowledges research center. So we can go to the next slide, please. Yeah. So here is we have in our agricultural place, we have now, I will say 32 plants of pineapple. They are growing, starting to give baby now. We have around 500 of tangerine. You can see in the second picture, close to the next to the pineapple. So we have like 500 tangerine. We have 200 of plantain, and we have I don't know if you are familiar with cola nut tree. We have some cola nut. We are experiencing also coffee, and we have around 1,000 papaya. Yeah, and we have some goats, and we are like going so on. So we can like to the next slide. This is where we design the space design for art and culture. So we use like a land, and I'm so happy when my friend Wendy was talking about bamboo. One of the idea was to use everything ecological, to use bamboo to do our stage, to do bamboo to do, but we also are not so familiar with bamboo. I have to say that. So we try. I think I will go to you one day, and we have to share experiences. We will love to welcome you and your community in our space to share knowledges. So that being said, you can see these are bamboo behind, and we use bamboo to do what we call Tuareg tents, in order to be able to rehearse. And that was in February 2025, where I was commissioned to co-create the opening and the closing ceremony of the largest film festival in Burkina Faso festival, FESPACO. So that was the rehearsal with local dancer. We can go to the next one. Community. So, Wendy said again that if you want to go fast, you go alone, far, you go together. So with the same ancestral wisdom, we always call local people to come together and then to think together and to do and to make together. And as I'm thinking about now the business version of the space, we want to keep going with local women who fled terrorist attack. Burkina has been exposed to some terrorist attacks since, I would say, almost 10 years now. So there are so many displaced families, and I really want to engage those displaced women in order to also open the space for them to rebuild their dignity. Next slide, please. Yeah, so you see, this is the animal breeding space where we have cow and goat and pig. It's interesting because when I was like breeding pigs, and people say, "But you don't eat pig." I say, "I'm not doing that to eat. But how can we, bring something in the market, allowing us to do after what we want to do?" So next slide, please. Yeah. So the top right image is the final version of this house. So it's definitely the first house for guests, for researcher, for artists, for international and local thinker in the space that we can say that the house, yes, now it's available and operational. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. It took time and a lot of money and a lot of energy, but we have one house now with 4 rooms, and the dream is to build at least 5 like this. Next slide. Yeah, this is I try to bring, when we receive Amin in February to start thinking about the Get project, our test bed. So Amin, and in the picture down, it was like explaining to the local community what is Get and why is here. And also in the right top right picture, I mean also design in a kind of circular bank, because in Burkina we have a lot of hoodie bank where we bench where we sit, and as a community. So since everything was like thought to be like circular in our tradition, so Amin came and designed this circular bench also to honor, ancestral spiritualities. Yeah, so we want to decolonial, that's French, I say un peu. We want to, to decolonial the way of creative practice. We want also to highlight the way that our ritual brings such healing, effects on our body. And we also want to highlight that today, science, I will say Western science, have to admit that there are other science that human being cannot explain from A to Z. And this science is not because we cannot explain that is not true. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, community, local farmer come, and then we have hunters. When I was like talking about ancestral wisdom, yeah. So and then to join my colleague and friend Wendy on her speech, also we said a single finger cannot take a pebble. Next slide, please. Top left, we were like activating the space, calling ancestral wisdom and music and dance to say to the spirit, well, we are here to do it together, not to fight against you. And the down left picture, one of the kids, and we said, if you want your future to sustain, you have to give it to young people, to the kids. So this kid was like also learning how to make things. And the top right and left, top right, international, national and local artists, theater maker, thinker, writer, dancer, poets came together to the space to share knowledges. And the down right is we're like growing some vegetable. Next slide, please. Yeah, so as I'm thinking about also, and how do we bring this thing to something more entrepreneur? And I will say what, because Burkina Faso is like changing a lot of role with our administration now. So, and I strongly believe that one model that will fit to art green culture factory that become today Kodonso Bougobali Sanou is to think about business, to be on the same level with our administration rules. That will allow us to do our business while sustaining and supporting communities and our art. So I said we are looking for how do we get more knowledge about renewable energy system, and how do we get more local, regional, national, international partner, and how do we transition to a new individual, you see, not that enterprise model, and also placing women and youth in the center of the project. How do we get to be sustainable? Next slide. Yeah, this is a video I would like to share. It kind of resume the beginning of the test beds. It's long. We can like move, keep like jumping. We have a personalized garden. So whenever I meet someone and I hear that someone did something positive to change the life of community, I wrote their name and I go to hang in our garden. And this is the community of hunter, those who have the ancestral knowledge, and they gather in the place to share. Yeah, we can move forward. Again. Amine.
Bonjour Amine.
Bonjour.
Yeah. Comment tu vas?
Sur les bâtiments qui sont classés ou inscrits monuments historiques, mais ma recherche s'oriente particulièrement sur le patrimoine des marges et des périphéries. Donc ça va être un patrimoine...
We can keep moving. Yeah.
Good enough transformation avec d'autres partenaires. Partager, je vais dire. Partager cette idée.
So seeing all this, I'm so proud that we came from, long road, and things are like getting together.
C'est une résidence d'artistes. Et c'était
Yeah, I think it's the video is available online for people who want to go and take a look. Yeah, thank you so much. Try to make it concise.
Thank you so much, Aguibou. Thank you, Wendy and Jennie, for introducing what you have been doing. And I have been taking notes, and I think there might be questions. I really appreciate the summary, or maybe the introduction Jennie gave, the how we should listen to your projects. And I was seeing every other point she gave, like the community-led action, arts and culture, mobilizing, different ways that arts and culture were mobilized, local and traditional knowledge, indigenous knowledge, how it is integrated into solution, how it is actually, part of the sustainability. And then, of course, low cost, iterative practice works, whether it's bamboo or the natural elements that you use, the partnerships you have, and the impact. And I really like that you mentioned global issue is our local issues are global issues. And the fact that you have partnerships from other parts of the world coming together to think about a local issue is not something, they're not thinking about something totally foreign to them. They are also impacted probably by similar problems. So very interesting to see, and actually the very concrete. Both of you have introduced very concrete projects. I have questions, but I'd like to open the floor for our participants. We have some familiar faces in the room here who might have questions. I know some of them are artists and researchers, so I'll give the priority to people in the room. Any questions? I can maybe start. Yes. Okay. Well, I have a question. I have two questions actually. One of them is, listening to you, how you're mobilizing the local community, arts and cultural practices, the knowledge. I can see how things are very natural and organic and holistic, right? It's like based on ancestral traditions and ways of doing things. And I'm just wondering, what are the potential limitations of this kind of work? Not maybe from within, but from outside. Maybe challenges. What are the challenges, like the most burning challenges that you have experienced, and who and how, who would support your efforts so that these challenges are reduced? So that's one question. It's maybe to all of the speakers. Yeah.
I can start because I got the opportunity to interview not only Aguibou and Wendy for the research, but the other members of GET. And I'm sure we'll come to no surprise to everyone here that funding was one of the major barriers that everyone faces. And along with that, community sustainability. Because we've already heard, in the little, subtle offsides from our presenters about, their own personal labor and also personal funds that are often go into these things. It's not necessarily sustainable, although we would always love it to be. And so that, finding other community members first, if there is the sacrifice to take that. But of course, we want there not to be the personal sacrifice, which brings me to the other point I want to raise, which is policy overall from local governments, local civic pathways for funding. Resoundingly around the world, we were hearing, there are success stories. You're hearing a couple of them here, but a lot of it actually comes from people developing personal relationships to government authorities, kind of getting in front of people and letting them know what there is. But, I think these are two big intertwined issues of lack of policy to support creative, civic, and change-based work like this, as well as, that filters down to funding. And then I'll let Aguibou and Wendy talk about maybe some specifics or something I didn't mention.
Well, I think you said so well that we don't. But I don't have to add something. But sometimes I love saying that it's really interesting. I have one of my friend and brother from Burkina Faso living in the U.S. and being with us here. Willie, thank you for being here. And I love saying I say, it's really interesting that we already have our community and we have a ancestral and traditional way to do things that works. And in other hand, in Western society, they used to have community, but now they are working to rebuild community that we already have. But what we need is funding, and what they have is funding. So I know it's getting hard and hard everywhere, but how can we bring together and share these resources, our different resources, and without dictating to anyone how things should be. Yeah.
I think from our end, like when it comes to the potential limitation, I view it from different scale. So from the individual level or from the individual like artists, organizational artists, I think on that level, because a lot of time is like artists are dealing with precarity. So precarity like to and for that precarity, the nature of precarity also kind of like I think it can be also a hindrance like to sustain in a way. Yeah. So that kind of added like some of the struggle. Yeah. So because you also want to sustain like in terms of your financial condition, like the and different situation, and then that will also add to the challenge. So on another level, like perhaps like more towards like the what Jenny mentioned about the policy level. From if you are getting the funding from the local government, I think local government there is also a situation of like most of the local government hasn't really moved beyond nationalistic agenda. So I think like if your agenda, like what we are doing, is actually more towards like cross country and cross nation, and moving beyond the nationalistic like boundary, then it certainly will also add to the challenge as well because will that sit in their interest? So this is also something that like we were dealing with like in the early days, and the same thing with the precarious situation as well. And then moving on to another level is like when you have this global consortium, then how do you enable that coordination and synchronization, like of the ideas and the agenda and the vision to be carried out? Because it's like every places actually have different definition when it comes to sustainability issue. So that I kind of view it in different scale, but overall I think that there's holistic mind shifting actually needs to happen from all these different scale. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Aguibou and Jenny. Any questions from the participants?
Well, hello. Thanks for the very nice materials that you showed to us today. They were really concrete, and I was very surprised actually how you really processed all the past procedures and where you are right now with the project, each of you. It's really wonderful and a great example for me to take a look, and some part of it gave me good ideas actually. And one of the thing is like what Wendy just said, like we all have different situations, right? So how we balance between our funding and the people, locality, and also globalism, it's really how do we balance in our own situation? That is our own task, I think. But just having this is first time for me to be in this webinar today, and thank you for having this webinar. To tell the truth, like this was one of the thing that I really needed in ASEAN to get connected with people from global sites, and also sharing all these ideas together and share our examples and share our own troubles and giving opinions and encouragement to each other. That is what I definitely needed, and also it's inspiring me a lot, so I really appreciate for it. And well, I have I have question for Wendy. How can you have such beautiful presentation of the work, like all the books and the layouts? Is that your background, or no? I really how the posters or the book layouts, it really tells very good how presentation of what you're doing, the natural, the nature, and also the culture, and how you craft. So I thought, wow, how can she do that? That is really powerful. So I was really impressed.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so my background is actually architect. So the multidisciplinary background that like our Borneo lab is actually filled with like different creative as well. So we also have graphic design designer, and also the artist like be part of the process. So and our latest book together with like 30 participating authors, including like Jennie, it's actually earlier before we started this webinar, we were still talking about Rose. Rose is also a graphic design background, and then with like so we actually with the process we're trying to also enable different individuals or organization with like because we also don't want to limit the aesthetic direction. So I'm very thankful to hear the feedback about aesthetic from your end. But actually on our end, we also have been thinking like, yeah, we actually need to diversify our aesthetic direction. So then it's not so like yeah, so it can be more more potential and more possibility. So in this, with this intention, we also intended to work with different people as well. Oh, and also like shameless promotion, like listen to our podcast as well, because we do spend a lot of time on the sound aspect as well. So our podcast is like you can check it out from Big Trip Tracking New Connection. So which is also another content set for the ancestral wisdom. Mm.
Thank you. And also I have and where can I have the podcast link?
Okay, let me share to you all in the
That'd be nice. Thank you. And also, like from Aguibou's presentation, I saw beautiful instruments. Wow. So I would really love to have any opportunity in the future. We can so that we can exchange our culture and sound together. That would be really wonderful. So yeah, awesome.
It will
Thank you.
be a pleasure, and I assume that you are in South Korea, right?
Yeah.
I just came from South Korea, me and my friend, few months ago, and next year we are going there. So I was there for Sidance Festival and Busan Performing Art Market. So next year I will be in Korea, and it will be a pleasure to meet there and share ideas.
Yep.
Wonderful. We can create the bonds. This is the purpose of the webinars. Wonderful. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions from our participants? Ezra, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the webinar. It's also my first time listening to all of you. I have been Denise's student in Railroads. It's a pleasure for me to accompany your projects. I have like a very broad question for Aguibou. As I understand, you are currently in the United States. I guess you're in a university, but your home country is Burkina Faso. My question is, how do you manage to maintain contact with your community back home if you are, let's say, abroad? continuing researching, but or let's say someone like me that will be interested in starting a project in my home country in Mexico, but I'm currently living in Canada. How do you manage to communicate and to make sure that it's a sustainable project if you're not in your home community at present moment?
Thank you so much, Ezra. Thank you. I appreciate your question and your time. The first thing I will say, fall in love with what you want to do back home. Be passionate with. If you fell in love with your project, nothing can stop you making it, dreaming it and realizing. I will share a beautiful thing again from my mom. She said, in order to not forget who you are, you need to be deeply rooted. And if the tree is really deep rooted, the wind cannot make it down. But she said also, there is no rule blocking the root of one tree to connect with the root of another tree to merge and bring new energy. So I think I keep that in mind, and that allows me being in the US and not forgetting where I'm from, and keep the connection and say, well, my position today being a researcher and being in academia in the US, sharing what can I share, what will be that will be like beyond my culture. I'm here because of my culture. If I forget that, I will lose my mission. So I keep the relationship between here and back home. And every time I have the opportunity, I go back. Even my family is here now to keep the root. So I don't know if I reply to that, but I strongly encourage you to create the link and fall in love with your project back there. It won't be easy, but if you believe, it will be possible to make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are at the end of our time. If there is one more question or anything our speakers want to say as a last word, Jennie, Aguibou, Wendy, anything you'd like to share?
I would say thank you. Thank you for opening the space of sharing, the space of meeting. I strongly believe in the power of encounter. So, and we say back home that every day the here go to the school of knowledge. Donc today again, donc that's French. So today again, my here went to the school of knowledges from all of you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to also share a little bit of me with you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, thank you. I saw Wendy shared the links you guys were asking for her personal website. I also went and shared my personal website that has my contact. You can get in touch with me there if you're interested in me and my life in general, as well as you'll see a link to my work at OCAD University there. And then you'll also see I shared the link that's been put together by Culturans of all the research we did for the Good Enough transformation. So please reach out, those of you. I wish we had time to hear from everyone who was here, because I would love to know who's in the room. And Wendy, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. And also I saw some familiar names like Laura. Laura been to On Reciprocity exhibition as well in Borneo. So I also like just want to share that like how much I appreciate this kind of like gathering, small scale and also very intimate. And so then we can be very honest to share about like the potential and also the struggle. So I hope we keep in touch. Yeah. Thank you.
Definitely. So the recording of this webinar will be on our website in a couple weeks, and we can add the links you've shared on the website as well, so people can read your bios, watch the webinar, and click on the links. And of course, we'd love to continue. This is the beginning, I hope, and we'll keep in touch. We'll hear from your work, and we'd love to, collaborate together. Yes.